And I would say, listen, you made 0 or you made 1 or 2 or 3 or 4% on your money. How would you like to make a guaranteed 8%? I'm like, wow, can you do that? I'm like, yes. And that's real estate. With real estate, you give them a guaranteed 8%. Now, you can do anything you want. I mean, it amazes me that newbie real estate investors go, can I borrow your money? I'll give you 15%. Why? Why are you giving somebody 15%? And you know what the answer is always the same thing? Because I don't think they'll lend it to me unless I buy it at 15%. Well, first of all, if I have a choice to lend a guy who's asking 8% for money and you who's asking 15% for money, I already know my money is at high risk at 15%. You know why? Because you're not even smart enough to know what a good deal is or how to get money properly.
Welcome to the RealPropPro podcast, where strategy, innovation, and wealth converge to redefine real estate investing.
Hello, and welcome to the RealPropPro podcast. I'm your host, Ian Dietler, fix and flip investor based out of Sacramento, California. This show highlights real investors building real wealth through real estate. Our guests share the mindset and strategies that actually work in today's market. RealPropPro trains investors and newbies in how to fix and flip, do tax deed and tax lien investing, creative financing, and so much more. If you're ready to start or scale, please check out free resources at RealPropPro.com. Today's guest is Larry Steinhouse, a real estate investor, author, radio show host, educator, and so many more things. Today we'll kind of talk about the different types of real estate strategies that he uses, and can't wait to get started. He's also a podcaster and speaker with a no BS approach to wealth building. Larry, welcome to the show.
What's up, Ian? What's going on, man? I'm so excited to be on your show. Hey, what's going on? What's going on behind your head? Is that like thought bubble?
Just a little bit of art, kind of keep some backgrounds interesting.
Well, I just thought it was like thought bubbles, like every time you had an interesting thought, one appeared.
Boop, there's one right there. Yeah, no, thanks again for coming on the show. I'm so excited to hear the stuff that you have to talk about because you do so many things. It's hard to really, put your expertise in a box because you're so knowledgeable in so many different things.
Well, thanks, man.
I don't know if we'll have time to talk about it, but I know that you're also into the stock market and doing some really cool stuff with options. So
I like making money.
We'll see if we can get there, but I think we'll try to make the focus on real estate investing and private money lending. So to kind of get started, can you kind of tell us where you were born and raised and kind of like what your early life was like growing up?
So I'm still trying to remember where I was born because, I just don't have a memory that goes back that far. But I do know one thing. I do know I was born in real estate.
Okay.
And then my parents took me home to more real estate.
Nice.
No, you didn't. Your audience got the joke. You didn't.
Well,
you still didn't get the joke, though, did you? I was born in real estate. Where were you born?
I was born here in California.
No, but where were you born?
In a hospital.
Yes. Isn't that real estate?
Yeah.
And did your parents take you home to more real estate?
Yes, they did.
They took you home to your house, right? So I was born in real estate, and my parents took me home to more real estate. All right. If I had to explain the joke, it's not as funny, man. I guess that you might call that a dad joke, right? At my age, or would that be a granddad joke? I guess that'd be a granddad joke. All right. I remember my granddad used to make jokes that were so unfunny, and he'd say the same jokes over and over again every time I saw him, and they got less funny every time. So next time I tell you that joke, you might even laugh. Now, what did you want to know? I completely forgot by now.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, kind of where were you born? Where'd you grow up? What was life like as a kid?
So I was born in Brooklyn, man, and Brooklyn is much better place than most other places for kids because you have things to do. You play games, you played games. I'm sure they're still in Brooklyn now. They're all on the internet too. But we played games outside. We had a blast, man. It was fun when I was a kid. I feel sorry for kids now, man. All they do now is they do this. and that's their fun.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of screen time, a lot more than even when I was a kid. That's for sure. I mean, we did have video games and stuff like that, but I mean, we didn't have cell phones really
Video
until I was
games,
more
man.
of a
I had
teenager.
the first Atari. I had the Magnavox. You don't even know what I'm talking about.
I started with the first Nintendo. That's when I was old
Alright.
enough to start playing video games.
Very cool. Did you get the
Yeah.
one with the gun?
Yes, I did have the gun for
Yes.
Duck Hunt.
Yeah, the funny part is the people who still have the Nintendo with the gun, it's worth a lot of money if you have the gun. And I keep thinking, wow, I could have saved mine.
I even upgraded to Sega Genesis, the first Sega Genesis,
sure.
and it had a big glove that you used to put on, and you can like press buttons and use the
Oh,
glove.
yeah, remember that. Sure.
It was cool that I had the glove, but I didn't really have any games that I could play on the glove, so kind of defeated the purpose, right? It's like, cool, I have this, but I can't use it. Okay, so
Cool.
so you're growing up in Brooklyn.
Yep.
You know, did you attend college? Kind of how did that go? How was
No, I was smart enough. I was smart enough to drop out of college after 6 weeks. So I actually moved to Jersey when I was 13, and went to school there, and then I went to college for a whole 6 weeks, and I realized that this is a complete waste of my time. And I was doing electronics. I used to, what I used to fix? I used to fix pinball machines and video games.
like arcade games?
Yeah, arcade games. I was really
Yeah.
into it. I was really into it. It was a lot of fun fixing that stuff. And then, I'm really into electronics and setups. Like car stereos were one of my favorite things to do. I became a technician. I repaired TVs and VCRs, all kinds of stuff.
That's awesome. I also really liked car audio. Putting way too many subwoofers in the back of a car was just
Sure.
like a passion of mine. Get it down to as least ohms as possible without blowing up the entire car.
Like how when you put your car in reverse and there's a rearview mirror, it comes
Yeah.
up on your screen.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time I invented that. No joke.
Really?
I invented that. Now, I when I say I invented it, I mean, I had it in a car and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever because nobody ever saw it before. And I had it when you put it in reverse, it clicked a relay. It wasn't even a electronic switch. It clicked a relay to turn the camera on the thing. And it was, if you're into it, at the time it was the coolest thing. Now it's like, yeah, big deal.
Yeah. I actually have a pretty cool story along those lines. I was raised by one of my mom's boyfriends. His name is Joe. Shout out to Joe if he's listening. His claim to fame is that he invented the CD. So that was a pretty big deal. It just
That's
never
pretty cool.
happened. He had the idea to do a optical disc read by a laser well before CDs were even out. Everyone was transitioning into cassette tapes. And so he
Nice.
pitched it to the board at whatever company it was, and they said, "No way, this is never going to work. This, we're all on cassettes now." So they really missed out on that one.
Yeah, it's funny when you think about it. If you come up with the right thing at the wrong time, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and you have to be able to get it in front of the right people as well, right?
Yep,
I mean,
that's exactly
in that
true.
case, he didn't get in front of the right people, and the whole thing kind of failed.
Yeah, sure.
So let's talk about real estate. Like what got you initially interested into real estate? What got you looking more into real estate and being like, okay, can I make some money off of this?
Did I tell you I was born in real estate? So I told you you'd laugh the next time you heard that joke. So when I was 18, actually, I bought my first property. It was kind of interesting. I was actually working at Crazy Eddie. I don't know if anybody remembers Crazy Eddie, but it was an electronics store. It was one of the coolest electronics stores ever. And I was a technician there. I used to repair VCRs, TVs, like I said before. And at the time, I was making $5 an hour. Now, $5 an hour was more than minimum wage at that time. Minimum wage, I think, was $3.35 at the time. I'm making $5 an hour. And my boss, the head technician, was telling stories about how he's buying properties down in the Jersey Shore, renting them out, making money, fixing them up, making money. I'm like, hey, you remember when you were 18? I know that was like, 5 years ago?
Oh, that was a long time for me, actually.
Okay. So
I'm going on 40.
All right. Yeah, not that long ago compared to me. Anyway, so when you're 18, remember how you knew everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was 18, I knew everything too. And I was 18 and I'm working at just like, fixing VCRs, TVs. And Jim, the head technician, my boss, he's telling me how he's buying properties. And at 18 years old, if he can do it, I can do it, because at 18 I can do anything, right? So I decide I want to start doing this. And one day I'm actually at the gym, and what do you do when you go to the gym? Like when you ride the stationary bike, what do you do to entertain yourself?
I usually throw on audiobooks, but before I was really like trying to teach myself stuff, I just put on some music.
Right. So
headphones.
Most people didn't have portable music, or they didn't have like an iPad or an iPhone, right? They had these things called books. And that day I forgot my book, and went to the front. They used to have these books called the real estate book. I don't know if you remember them. They were called the real estate book, and they didn't have online MLS. They had real books, because there was really nobody had a computer at that point. And I grabbed the real estate book and I start going through it, and I find this house in a town called Easton, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour and a half from where I lived. I didn't realize it at the time, but about an hour and a half where I lived. And I find this 2-family house listed for $26,500. So I call the real estate agent that day, make an appointment. I go see it, and she goes, "What do you think?" I go, "I'll take it." What do I know? I'm 18, right? I go, "I'll take it." And she goes, "All right, I need a $500 deposit." And I looked at her and I go, "I don't have $500. And then she goes, "Well, can you give me $100? And I was too embarrassed to tell her that I didn't even have $100. But I write her a check for $100, and I figured I'll get it to clear somehow, before she cashes it. And about 30 days later, I close on that house. I'm making about $200 a month positive cash flow. And then I make the biggest mistake ever. I sell that house a year later at a 50% profit. Now, that's a pretty good profit, of course, right? The problem, though, is if I would have held on to that house, I paid $26,500 for it. It's probably worth about $350 now, and I probably would get about $3,000 to almost $4,000 in rent off of that property right now. So the biggest lesson I learned, now I didn't learn it that day. I learned it many, many, many years later, is keep everything. Always just keep your properties, and you'll make a whole lot more money. But that was basically my first property. It was a lot of fun. I made a lot of mistakes during it, and I learned so much from those mistakes.
That's really cool that you were able to buy it for $100 down. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah, I figured out how to do it. I actually read a book called Robert Allen, No Money Down. I read that after I bought the property, and I read how I did it.
He wrote about how you did it?
Yeah, I actually read in the book how I did it, which was kind of cool. I actually used credit cards, which is kind of wild. I actually used credit cards to get the down payment money, and then a loan from a bank. I don't know if it was an FHA. I don't think they called them FHA loans at the time, but it was a loan similar to an FHA loan.
Now, is that something someone can still do today if they had a large credit line? Could they
absolutely?
They could put a down payment down on a credit card to buy a house?
It's not. You can't just walk into your real estate office and go, "Here, charge my card." It doesn't work that way. But yeah, you can use your card for down payments. You can use your card for anything you want, as long as you know how to do it. Now, I we've known each other for a little while, but do you know how much available credit I have on credit cards?
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
400,000.
How about 1.2 million?
Wow, I was way off.
Yeah, you were definitely way off. I have 76 credit cards.
Wow.
I have $1.2 million worth of available credit on credit cards. Now, a lot of people ask me two questions. I'll let you see if you can figure out which two questions they are. What's the first one?
Why the hell would the bank give you so much credit?
It's not why they would give it to you. How do you get it? Is right. Okay. Who cares if that, well, because I know how to work the system and get credit cards is the answer. But those aren't the two questions. The first question I ask is, like, how can I do that? And I teach people how to do it all the time. And the other one is funny. A lot of people say, why in the world would you have $1.2 million worth of available credit cards? And then I answer, I say, well, do you know what I could do with $1.2 million worth of available credit cards? And I answer back, anything I want. So think about that, man. Anywhere I want to go, anything I want to do, anything I want to fix. Like, how many times you do a fix and flip, Ian, right? And you go, oh, damn, I need an extra $50,000. Well, if you have $1.2 million worth of available credit on credit cards, you got that $50,000 over and over again.
And it's one of those things where you want to have it before you need it.
Absolutely.
And so it sounds like you've already set that up. You've established those credit lines, and they're ready to deploy anytime you need them.
Yeah, I mean, I just use my credit cards. to take care of anything. And I have Visas and Master. I have 9 American Express cards.
Wow.
9 different accounts.
Now, you always hear a lot of people talk about good debt and bad debt. Can you kind of explain to the listeners what some good debt is and what some bad debt is?
Here it is, real simple. The definition of good debt and bad debt is very simple. Good debt, someone else pays for it. Bad debt, you pay for. So if you have a mortgage on a property and you're renting it, that's good debt. So think about this, Ian. If you have your house, if you own your house and you're paying for it, the mortgage, is that good debt or bad debt?
That's bad debt.
That's right. Most people
coming
don't
out
get
of my
that.
pocket.
That's right. Most people don't get that. If you're paying for it, it's bad debt. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't go buy a house, but just understand it's bad debt. Good debt, you make money on. Bad debt, you're paying out of your pocket.
Yeah, so I mean, something like a house hack where someone buys the house to live in it, but they can.
I hate that.
You don't
term.
like house hack, huh?
No, it's the dumbest freaking term ever. It's like, I'm a millennial, and I call it house hacking. You have a fucking roommate.
There's another term too. Cohabitating, I think is.
Yeah, that's even better. That's better than house hack. I house hacked with my best friend. What the hell does that mean? Well, I have this room and he gives me rent. He's a roommate.
Sublease. You're just subleasing it.
No, you're not subleasing it.
Oh no, you're just leasing it.
Yeah, I mean you're leasing a room to your friend,
it.
and most people don't even get a lease, which is dangerous.
Yeah.
You put your friend, even if your friend, you put him in your room, and you put him there for a long time. Then all of a sudden you say, hey, you know what? I decided I don't want you living here anymore. And he goes, good luck. I'm not leaving. And guess what you can't do? You can't evict him. You know why? Because you don't have a lease. And you never did.
So no house hacking for you.
No, I don't. I will certainly get a roommate, but I would not house hack.
Okay.
Do you understand? Like, because I won't use that term.
Yeah.
It's a dumb term. Sorry, but all you millennials out there watching, dude, it's fucking getting a roommate. And if you want to get 2 roommates, that's 2 roommates. That's not house hacking.
So, what kind of real estate do you? What kind of real estate did you start doing, and then like have your strategies evolved over time?
So my strategy was real simple. If I could buy a house with absolutely no money out of my pocket, which the only way I buy them, with absolutely no money out of my pocket, and even get some money at closing, which happens almost all the time for me, and I can make at least $200, $300 a month after doing all that, I'm buying it. I mean, think about this, right? Do you have a car payment?
Yes.
Yeah, what's your car payment?
$400 a month.
Great. Now, how much did you put down in that car? Maybe $7,000?
I traded in. I got a credit on a trade-in.
Okay, but the trade-in was your money, so
yeah. So let's say $5,000.
Okay, so you took $5,000 of your money, because whether it was a trade-in or not, it's still $5,000 of your money, and now you pay $400 a month. So what I would do if I was going to buy a car, I'd go buy a house. I'd get $5,000 back at closing. That house has to produce at least $400 a month, and now I bought a house with absolutely no money out of my pocket. I got $5,000 down. I put the $5,000, I got $5,000 back. I put the $5,000 down in the car, and the payment comes from the tenants. That's how you buy a car.
Now that reminds me of Robert Kiyosaki and how he got his Porsche. Same thing. He said, you can't just go buy the Porsche. You have to buy an asset that produces enough money.
That's
to afford
exactly
that
right.
Porsche.
And now I don't only get an asset that produces enough for the Porsche. I also buy an asset, get cash back at closing to put down as a down payment on the asset. Which is the only way I buy things now. Now I've actually mastered the stock market so well that I actually borrow money from people. Like I borrow money from my credit card at 0%. It's the funniest thing. I borrow money from my credit card at 0%, and I make 8 or 9% a month in the stock market on the money that the credit card has given to me for 0%. That's called arbitrage, baby.
Just talking about real estate, and I just wanted to see like what strategies you're using. I mean, are you using creative stuff, seller 2 or sub 2, kind of seller financing? It sounds like you're using like whatever works, right?
So I am the creative financing king. You know, there's some guy out there, that everybody thinks is the sub 2 guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing sub 2 when he was in high school,
Yeah.
and I was doing it right when he was in high school, not doing it wrong when he's 40. Whatever. I mean, you guys want to go to the guy who just has the guy's massive marketer. He's an incredible marketer, and I got to tell you, I'm jealous of how great of a marketer he is.
Yeah.
But when you listen to him and you listen to things he says, it's like, dude, you're clueless. You're getting 80% of it right. No, that's okay. You're getting 80% of it right, but I'm going to tell you how to get 110% of it right. Okay, I know. Everybody just questioned my math. Screw you all.
Yeah, one of my partners is also not a very big fan of that person. He thinks that some of the stuff he does is borderline
Unethical.
illegal.
No, it's just unethical. I'm going to tell you right now, he doesn't do anything illegal. Well, as far as I know, he doesn't do anything illegal. But when he does, it's very unethical, some of the things he's doing, and I really have a big problem. I'll tell you, I'll give you an example, right? So all of a sudden, because of him, there's this big craze of wholesaling sub 2 deals.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, yeah, I got a sub 2 deal, and your entry fee is $20,000. Look, let me tell you what sub 2 was for, right? It was for this. It was for the guy who had a house, and he owed $150,000 on a house worth $130,000. And he can't sell it to anybody, because if he sells it to anybody, he's going to come up with $20,000, and he's going to come up with closing costs, like to pay his realtor, and it's going to cost him $30,000 to $40,000 to get out of his house, right? And this guy's had a major problem. So I walk up to him and say, listen, what if I take over your payments, I take over your property, and you don't have to worry about it anymore? And the guy's like, really? Can you do that? I go, yes, I'll take care of it. As long as I can make a couple of bucks on it, right? And he's like, yes. And now I saved this guy from himself. I got a property with not having to get a loan, and pretty much no money down unless, if I pay for the closing costs. That's about all I have to do, right? That's what sub 2 was for. And it was great. Especially it was great when the market was tanking, right? Which will happen again. So that's what it was great for. Now, the problem with sub 2 has always been the same. I tell this guy I'm going to make the payments for him. Now, the guy's got a credit score of, let's say, 750, right? And I tell him I'm going to make the payments for him. And I have to make these payments. What happens to the guy's credit score if I don't make the payments?
He gets a default on his credit.
He gets trashed. So for the next 7 years, his life sucks because I didn't make the payments. Now, I would never do that. And if I look somebody in the face and I say, I'm going to make your payments, I'm going to make their payments. Now, there were some unethical people out there who didn't do it anyway. But here's the deal. If I say to the guy, I'm going to make your payments, and I go up to Ian and I go, Ian, hey, listen, Ian, I got this sub 2 deal. Give me $20,000 and you can have it. You never looked the guy in the face and said you were going to make the payments. In fact, I don't know you from Adam. I mean, I know you, but it's probably, but if I'm doing some sub 2 deal on Facebook, and then, you give me $20,000, I got $20,000, and I possibly the seller. And that's the problem with this. That's why it's unethical. And the other one is, I've heard him say it. Hey, what's the big deal? If I can't get the rent, I just won't make the payments anymore. You know what? That's f***ed up. Anyone who says that, and anyone who does that, if the guy himself is saying it, then all his minions and all these people that he's training are saying the same thing. And that's just wrong. So that's why he's unethical. Is it illegal to do sub 2? Absolutely not. It's just unethical. So there's my rant on Pace fucking Morby.
One of the things I'm a little bit concerned about is along the lines of that is this kind of gator funding method. Have you heard of this?
Oh, that's worse.
Okay,
What anybody who's dumb enough to do that. Yeah. Hey, listen, you're a brand new wholesaler. You need $5,000 as earnest deposit here, and you'll give me $6,000 back. Oh wow, what a wonderful thing! Here's my $5,000. Hey Ian, when do I get my $6,000 back? Well, Larry, I forgot to tell you that I never found a buyer, and now the seller now has your $5,000, and I can't get it back for you.
Yeah, and you signed this contract that says it's okay, you lost your money, right?
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's a good idea. There's no collateral whatsoever. Hey, Ian, I'll tell you what. Yeah, you're going to give me a car. You're going to give me your house. and you're going to give me everything else as collateral for that $5,000. And if you don't find a buyer, it's your problem, not mine. I just can't believe that anybody would do that. And it's amazing how many people like, oh yeah, I'm a gator lender. Yeah, I make 25% of my money in 3 days. That's great, but do you realize what kind of risk you've taken? Holy cow! And there's other people too. Like, I'm a big believer in your paperwork has to be perfect when it comes to lending money. I've never, I have people. So I have, I don't know, thousands and thousands of followers at this point who all, who reach out to me. I mean, thousands of them don't reach out to me, but people reach out to me every once in a while. They're like, hey, listen, I got this loan that I lent somebody money and they're not paying me back. Can you help me? And I help everybody I can, it happens all the time. It's amazing to me how often. And I said, let me see the paperwork. The first thing I'm going to do is see the paperwork. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. You know why I'm a lawyer? I'm not a lawyer because, as I told my mother says to me all the time, you should be a lawyer. And my answer to her is, I can't take the pay cut. Right?
That's a great answer.
Yeah, it's a great answer. But I really understand, paperwork and the law and, certain things, so I look at these people's paperwork and I'm like, and most of the time, my first question is this all you have? And they're like, yeah, what's wrong with it? I go, it's a 1-page promissory note. I said, did you get a mortgage on a property? Well, isn't that what that is? No. I said, where's your collateral? Well, I don't know. What does it mean? It says in there, it says that I could have the house if I don't pay. I said, that's not collateral. That's not a mortgage. That's meaningless. And it's funny. It's like 1-page document. If you have a 1-page document lending somebody money and you're the lender and you got a 1-page document, not only do you say no, but you say, if you ever ask me for money again, I'm going to punch you in the face. You can tell I'm from Brooklyn, huh?
So can you kind of walk us through some of the big wins? Because it sounds like you've done, thousands of transactions, correct?
Yeah, it's probably not thousands. It's probably more like around 500 or 600.
Okay.
But,
so tons of transactions.
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old.
Yeah, various different types. I'm assuming you probably did some wholesaling in there, flipping some paper.
So wholesaling is interesting. I tell you a funny story about it. So investors, investor schooling I have this company called Investor Schooling. I teach people how to do all kinds of money things. We focus a lot on real estate and the stock market. So when I opened Investor Schooling, I opened it up 8 years ago. And when I opened up Investor Schooling, I started teaching wholesaling as one of the things I was teaching. But I felt like a complete fraud. You know why? Because I never did a wholesale deal. Now, I did all the parts of a wholesale deal, like finding the properties, buying the properties, renovating the properties, or whatever, right, getting them in the contract. Right. So it's not that far of a stretch to say that I know how to do wholesaling, but I never did it. So I was like, you know what? And I actually said, you know what? I can't do this. I have to prove that I could do wholesaling. So I opened up a wholesale company, and in 2 years, I did $1.1 million worth of wholesale fees. So now I could say I'm not a fraud.
Wow, that's a lot of wholesale income
It is.
in just 1 year.
2 years.
2 years.
$1.2 million in 2 years.
Wow.
$1.1 billion in 2 years.
Wow. So what was your biggest win, just like overall? Okay, what comes to mind when you think biggest paydays?
So, yeah, wins, paydays. To me, they're stories. Like how do you have a story to tell somebody, right? You heard the story of my first property. It was interesting, right? I saw you like on the edge of your seat going, wow, I wonder where this is going. To me, a story is a win. If I can come up with a really great story, like I got one I'm working on right now. So this is a great one, and I don't know what the ending of the story is. I'll find out probably next week, which is interesting. So my partner and I should actually say, we went to the auction. And we hardly ever go to the auction, but we go to the auction every once in a while. And, everybody knows when you go to the auction, you got to do all the research on the properties before you bid on them. And you got to see if there are a lot of liens on them, just in case, because, you buy a property with liens on them, you're screwed. Because now all of a sudden, you buy the property, you got the first position, but there's 5 or 6 positions after you. Well, they go away. But if you want the second or third position, the ones below you can come with you. So we're at the auction, and we had like 5 properties that we identified that we wanted to buy, and they pretty much went for higher than we wanted to do it. And all of a sudden, we literally were about to get up. And all of a sudden, the guy goes and talks about this one property in a town called Richland Town. And as he's mentioning the thing, I look it up, and it's a freaking incredible property. It's a commercial property with 5 or 6 buildings on it, with a residential house on it, and a barn, and a mill. And it was like, wow, look at this. And I quickly estimated the property worth about $1 million, maybe $1.2 million, right? Real quick, right? And the attorney gets up. Now, we haven't done any research on it, remember. So the attorney gets up and goes, the upset price is $280,000. So I nudge my partner. I go, bid 281. He gets up and he bids 281. No one bids against him. And I just, and as soon as that, I went, oh, shit. So we only brought, and the thing is, like, you're supposed to put 10% down. We only brought a cashier's check for $50,000. So we're supposed to put $28,000 down, and we give them $50,000. On the way home, I immediately call my attorney, and I go, I think I either hit the jackpot or big time. And he goes, what happened? I go, look, I found this property, blah, blah, blah. We bid on it, $280,000. We already gave him $50,000. And frankly, we don't know what the story is, but we did some research real quick at the courthouse, and we found 2 more liens on this property of equal to over $2 million. I said, we're pretty sure we both bought the first position. If you buy the first position, all the liens after that go away. We're pretty sure we bought the first position, but we're not sure. Now, we have 7 days. I'm sorry, not 7 days. We have 10 days to go to the courthouse with the other $231,000. Or we forfeit the $50,000. So that was about a month and a half ago while this is all happening. So he starts doing some research. My attorney starts doing some research on it. And on Monday, he finds out that he's really good friends with the attorney on the other side. So they start talking, and we start figuring out that, yes, we bought the first position. We're like, yes. And it's so exciting. We're like, this is freaking great. We got $1 million property for $280,000. This is phenomenal. We're so excited, right? And then he goes, but. I go, but what? He goes, this was not a normal foreclosure. It was a confession of judgment foreclosure, which no one has seen in years. And he goes, so we're not sure if the other liens actually really go away. I said, all right, well, find out for us, because I'd rather lose $50,000 than lose $280,000. So he starts doing some research, and he's talking to the attorney, and they're back and forth, and they're trying to figure out. It turns out, like in this case, they end up both working for me. They're on my side. The attorney for the bank wants me to buy the property. My attorney wants the best for me, of course, right? So now so that was Friday. Now it's the following Thursday, and we have till Monday to bring the $231,000 to the courthouse. And on Thursday, my attorney calls me up and says, listen, we're still trying to figure out if there's a problem here. We're trying to get some guarantees from the bank that says that there won't be a problem, blah, 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 blah. We need some time. So we're going to ask the courthouse to give you guys an extension to bring the money in. So at that point, my partner's like, he's going to Florida the next day anyway, and he's got the money in his account, in his bank account, right? But we don't care because we'll get an extension. We got plenty of time. He'll be back next week. He's figuring we're going to get an extension for 10 days, blah, blah, blah. Friday turns out to be a holiday. So Thursday, they ask for the extension. Friday's a holiday. Monday comes, and we're like, just going about our business. All of a sudden, my phone rings at 12:30 Monday. Now, you have to have the money at the bank by 3 o'clock. My phone rings at 12:30, and it's my attorney. We couldn't get the extension. I'm like, what do you mean you couldn't get the extension? The other side wants the extension. We want the extension. What's the problem? The sheriff says there's no exceptions, no extensions. And he goes, but I'm 99% sure you're going to be fine if you come up with the $230,000. So I'm like, okay. I have an hour and a half to come up with $230,000. So I call up my partner, and he says, no problem. I'll call the bank. the bank, and he says, I'll get the cashier's check. You just go pick it up. And the bank says, unless he's you, we can't do it. Unless you come in here physically and authorize that transaction, we can't do it. Now, he's in Florida, and this is a small local bank. So there's no branches in Florida. So we're trying to figure it out. Meanwhile, we finally say to the sheriff, listen, we'll wire you the money. Nope, we don't accept wires. So Monday comes, 3 o'clock comes, and we can't give them the money. We just can't give them the money. So now we're out $50,000. We don't have the property. And the two attorneys are talking over the next couple of weeks, and they're trying to figure out what to do with this. So we filed a motion to allow us to buy the property for $230,000. The difference was just $230,000. We already gave them $50,000 to allow us to buy the property for $230,000. So that motion will be heard this coming Wednesday. Now, so far we've lost $50,000. We're like, oh, super excited. We're going to get the money. Super excited. We're not going to get the money. We have no idea. But if we get this property, you'll talk about wholesaling it. I'm going to close on this property, and I'm going to immediately list it for $600,000, which I think is a bargain for anybody. But we have plans, if we don't sell it, we have plans to turn it into a 14-unit apartment building. So it's an interesting story. So, the whole thing is like, what's the best deal? The best deal is the one with the best story. And as a moment, this is the best story.
Nice. Yeah, I love that. That was a great story. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure our listeners will want to update. Yeah.
Well, they can reach out to me anytime.
I'll also post in the comments kind of what happened with this, because now I'm interested. I'm for sure going to be following up with you.
It's funny. We both said, well, we lost the $50,000. Whatever happens from here is only better.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be great if you can take that one down. I mean, have you ever had a payday that large? I mean, like, have you ever broke into $1 million payday?
It's like $1 million profit? Not yet. No.
Yeah.
No.
Still working that one.
No, I mean, 230, 250, stuff like that, but not $1 million in one day. I mean, I at this point too. Yeah, at this point, I don't sell anything. I mean, this is a different situation, but I don't sell anything. Everything I buy now, I'm going to buy and hold until I die and give it to my kid.
Okay.
Let him have it. He can do whatever he wants with it. I already told him. I said, if you're smart, you'll keep them, and you'll collect the rent. If you're dumb, you'll sell them and take the money. But I don't really care because I'll be dead.
Yeah, that is kind of funny how much people really plan out their death, right? And then it's like, do you really care? Like, you're dead.
I don't care. I said, and I also said, listen, I said, and I gave him like access to all my accounts and everything. I said, make sure the payments are made, because if the payments aren't made, then all the lenders get the properties, and if they get the properties, you get nothing. So, I said, if you want to do that, I don't care either. It ain't my problem.
Yeah.
I'm dead.
So you'd mentioned how you have a training, you train students on how to make money.
Yep.
Can you talk about how that started for you, and what?
It's funny you say that.
What got you transitioned into like helping other people invest?
What we do is we teach people how to make money. We teach people how to buy real estate with no money. We teach people the stock market, and it all started like this. It started about 8 years ago. I retired about 10 years ago, whatever. And I don't know, Ian. Did you ever have a W-2 job, or do you have one now?
Yeah, I have one now.
Okay. How badly do you want to quit your W-2 job?
Like, really badly want to quit.
Right.
Very
so
badly.
I was making so much money in real estate, making so much money in the stock market, that I didn't need my W-2 job anymore. And the funny part was I actually got myself fired, which is really funny. So I got fired from my W-2 job, and I didn't really care. I actually ended up making more money because I was fired. But after a year of sitting home, man, I was so freaking bored. You retire at 50 at the time, like I retired at like a little over 50, 51, 52, whatever it was. And what do you think everybody else does? All your friends do during the day? They all go to work, right? So you can't hang out with any of your friends. And after a while, you get really bored of watching Dr. Phil and smoking cigars all day. So,
Yeah.
So one day somebody calls me up and they're like, hey, I hear you're crushing it in real estate. Can you teach me that? I'm like, yeah. So there's a Dunkin' Donuts down the street. Meet me at Dunkin' Donuts. Let me see what I could teach you. So I teach him some stuff, and I say, do this, and, call him back a week later, and I say, hey, did you do anything I told you to do? Nah.
No.
Somebody else called me, hey, you're killing it in the stock market. Can you teach me that? I'm like, yeah, meet me at Dunkin' Donuts, and we'll talk about that. And, sure enough, I give him a whole bunch of stuff to do. A week later,
Let me
you
guess.
do anything?
They didn't do anything.
Right. Then another guy calls me up, and he says, hey, can you teach me, some real estate? I'm like, yeah, my coaching program is $3,500 for 3 months, and I'll coach you. He shows up with a check for $3,500, and he actually did something. So it was at that point that I realized that you have to pay attention. So the interesting thing was, I had this building, actually the one I'm sitting in right now, which is our office. I had this building, and I didn't know what to do with it. I actually bought this building. I bought it for $1,000 a month from the seller, creative financing with 0% interest, thinking I would rent it for $3,800. And every time I put it up, I'm free. After taxes and $1,000 taxes and maintenance fees, it was probably around $2,300 out of my pocket. And I figured I was going to rent it for $3,800, and I had it up for a year, and I couldn't rent it. And finally, I was teaching about 3 or 4 people now, and I said, you know what? Meet me in my office, and we'll invite some friends, and I'll start teaching them. And that was pretty much how investor schooling started. It started with people coming to my office, and it was funny, I had a partner at the time when we first started. He decided he didn't want to do this anymore, but I had a partner at the time, and we were like, we don't even know who's going to show up. We bought a case of beer. We said, if nobody shows up, we'll just drink the beer. So about a dozen people showed up, and it's been history since then. Now, so many things have happened since then. I became a radio host. I'm on the radio once a week on Saturdays from 1 to 3, and I talk about money. I talk about real estate. It's funny, I talk about politics. I talk about anything I want to talk about. I have two co-hosts now. We have a blast. I speak around the country now about how to buy houses without any money. I didn't even know. You've been to some of my presentations, right?
Yeah, I've heard you speak with one of our masterminds that we're both a part of, and I've listened to a couple of your radio shows since we've met.
Yeah, did the radio show make you laugh?
Yeah, definitely. You guys are a riot.
It's just a blast, right? It's a blast. So so we just have fun, and that's pretty much what I'm doing. Like tomorrow, I have an all-day event in my office. It's an all-day event that we call the Money Hacks event, based off my book. So by the way, here's my book. My book is called Money Hacks. It's because everything you think you know about money is wrong. Now, the cool thing about this book is, I'm telling you, it's a book you need to read. You're going to learn so much about money in this book. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, yeah, he wants to sell his book. I'm going to tell you right now, I make $4 a book. I don't give If you want to buy it, buy it. You don't want to buy it, I don't care. But if you buy it, I'm telling you, the things in this book are going to blow your mind, absolutely blow your mind. So we do our Money Hacks event about every quarter. We have other things like Financial IQ. The Financial IQ event is an amazing event. What we do with Financial IQ is we literally rewire your brain for money. So people have the worst money mindset, worst money habits. They don't know anything about money at all. They don't know anything about how it works. When I tell you I borrow money off my credit card to invest in the stock market, half the audience went, "Are you out of your mind?" I'm like, no. If you do what I do, and do exactly what I do, it'll blow your mind. You can't lose your money. Okay, so the cool part is it works, and it works over and over and over again. I trade almost $1 million in stock market at all times, and I trade that, and I make a fortune off of it. In fact, I have now, something that we're teaching. We're teaching this whole method of this, and we have a contest in our school. We have a contest of people who got into the contest, and in 8 weeks, the one who has the most money gets a trophy. Investing in the stock market, starting with $10,000. So it's just so wild, the things that we've been teaching and what we've been doing. It's grown so much.
That's great. That's so cool that you've taken the time to build out the system to be able to teach people how to make money in real estate, stocks, whatever. And it sounds like you're really forming a community of people that are very like-minded and kind of have mostly the same goal, just make money and live a free life to be able to do whatever you want to do.
Oh, you know what I just realized? I have a picture of that property I was just talking about queued up. I don't know if you can see it though, but I can actually queue it up. Let me show you this.
Yeah, let's try it.
This is the property I was talking about. Look at that. Isn't that wild? Right? And this is the house that's on the property. So it's amazing. It's like this thing for $280,000. What an incredible deal. Sorry, I just realized I had it queued up.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing.
I was on a webinar with somebody else, so I had it queued up.
It's always good to see kind of the real deals, like that's an actual property that
Yeah,
you took
absolutely.
down and making some major money on. So kind of wrapping things up, on the show, what we do is a free book giveaway. And so what we do is we have these particular books here that we usually give away. I think you
Well,
just mentioned,
how about my book?
your book is also on here. I
No,
was
I
just
tell
going
you
to
what,
mention
I
that.
got something
It's
for you.
okay.
All right, you want to give away? I'm going to give away a digital copy to every single person watching this webinar. Is that cool?
Awesome.
Here's
Yeah,
what
that'd
you
be
do.
great.
I don't know if it'll work. I could try it, but do this. Okay. Go to your phone and send a text message to the phone number 26786. Just send a text message 26786 and message the word hacks, HACKS, to 26786, and everybody who does that will get a digital copy of my book immediately. 26786 hacks, HACKS, and you'll get a digital copy of my book right away. Now that I took your thunder away.
No, I really appreciate you sharing that for free to all the listeners.
And I
Great.
won't even make my $4.
Yeah. So for our free book giveaway, what we do is all you have to do is like and mention which one of these books you'd like to win,
This one.
and after 5 days after the air date, we'll pick one lucky winner. This one is Creating Wealth with Robert Allen. I feel like you were talking about
Yeah, it was.
one
Absolutely,
of
yeah.
his other books.
Yeah.
One of the one that got you started. Obviously, there's Rich Dad Poor Dad down here. That's
Great
the
book.
one that gets a lot of people started as well. 10X Rule, Grant Cardone, good stuff.
You want to know the best book? You want to know the best book that you have in that pile? The E-Myth Revisited.
I was gonna say
That's
is one
the
of my
best
favorites.
book in that pile.
Yes, there's also this one too, E-Myth Mastery too. I don't know if you've had a chance to check that one out.
Yeah, I started. So I actually like E-Myth Revisited is so good that all the other E-Myth books are okay.
I will say that there's another one. There's a E-Myth Real Estate Investor Edition. You have to put up with a little bit of Than Merrill talking on it, or
That's all right. I like that. Narrow.
Yeah, Than Merrill is great, but he's not the best author. So
Okay,
he's got good stuff in it, but not the best content. But the stuff that Robert E. Gerber has in that book is really amazing too. So it has a lot of the same concepts as E-Myth Revisited, but he's got a couple other different ones, different chapters that are really cool. He talks about expansion and contraction, and like how our minds are usually like closed down for most of our life, just like sticking with the same thing. And he says that if you want to start to build a business that's, big and successful, and that you're not working in it, you're working on it, you have to expand your mind a little bit, and you have to change the way that your mind works.
Yeah.
So kind of goes along with some of the stuff that you're teaching some of your students.
So we have a program called Financial IQ. And actually, if you go to Financial Retreats, financialretreats.com, you could find out about Financial IQ. It's very different. It's exactly that. I mean, we're going to rewire your mind from the minute you come in. This is not just it's like somebody stands up and lectures you. You are forced to do work that you've never done before around money for 3 days. And I can't explain it to you until you go. Because when you go, you're like, wow, this is wild. I mean, the course material that we've written, I wrote it with one of my partners who has a doctorate in instructional design. And we went into people's minds in this program. And really, when you leave this program, your life will change. Maybe if you want to go, let me know. You should go too. But it's an amazing program. So financialretreats.com. And if you go there, you'll find out about it. You actually can't even buy it. You have to talk to me first.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that too. That's something I'm definitely interested in. So I'll be hitting you up on that.
Definitely.
There was one more thing I wanted to kind of get into, because when you and I were talking in the past, there was something that you were kind of talking about that I'd really like the listeners to hear.
Sure.
You were talking about how you raise capital for real estate and other stuff, and you were explaining like what the magic of something like a 8-10% return can be for someone that's lending the money. Can you talk about the details of that and like what the benefits are to someone who's just sitting on $50,000 to $100,000 that wants to make a return, and then like what that would look like year by year for them?
So
Okay.
you need to understand, the first thing you need to understand is if you're a real estate investor, right, you need to find money. You always need to find money, right? Now, when I bring people along with me as a partner, even if they're a lender, it has to be what's good for them and what's good for me. Okay, so first of all, there are people out there who just don't want to invest in real estate. They just don't want to buy real estate. They don't want to deal with toilets, trash, and tenants. Now, people out there, I guarantee you know people with money. You might not even know you know people with money, but you know people who have 401ks or IRAs, and they give their annuities, which is the absolute worst financial product for a person ever. By the way, if you have an annuity, if anybody's listening, you have an annuity, I'm sorry for you. Your financial advisor ripped you off. Basically, he said, "Give me your money. You can't have it back, and if you actually convince us to give it back to you, we're going to give you 10% less of your money." I mean, it's the absolute worst financial product on the planet. But if you have people that have money, most of the time in people's IRAs, they're getting between 4 and 5 and 6%, maybe before fees. So after fees, maybe they're getting 3 or 4%. They don't even know it. And it's funny because I'll ask people, "Hey, you have money in your IRA?" They go, "Yeah, I have 200,000 in my IRA." "Great. What was your return last year?" "Well, my advisor tells me I made 12%. I said, "Okay, so let's do this. Let's look at your statement at December 2023, and let's look at your statement at December 2024. Now, if you had $100,000 in there and you made 12%, how much did you have?" And the answer is 112%, right?
$112,000.
Right. I'm sorry. Right. Thank you. 112,000. Right. That's how much you should have, right?
Yeah.
So they pull out their, all I said was pull out your statements. Wait a minute. I gave him 120,000. I only have 118,000. Oh, so you lost money. I can't. I mean, it amazes me. Now, look, somebody opens up their account. They made 20,000. They made 20,000 under 100. I'm like, okay, you did great. Maybe you'll do that again next year. I have nothing to help them with, right? I'm here to help them. I'm here to explain to them that they're not paying attention to their money. And I would say, listen, you made 0, or you made 1 or 2 or 3 or 4% on your money. How would you like to make a guaranteed 8%? I'm like, wow, can you do that? I'm like, yes. And that's real estate. With real estate, you give them a guaranteed 8%. Now, you can do anything you want. I mean, it amazes me that, real estate, newbie real estate investors go, can I borrow your money? I'll give you 15%. Why? Why are you giving somebody 15%? And you know what the answer is always the same thing? Because I don't think they'll lend it to me unless I buy it at 15%. Well, first of all, if I have a choice to lend a guy who's asking 8% for money and you who's asking 15% for money, I already know my money is at high risk at 15%. You know why? Because you're not even smart enough to know what a good deal is or how to get money properly. So that means that your deal already sucks because you're going to be paying twice as much money that you would have been paying, or almost twice as much money that you would have been paying for the money if you would have went to somebody for 8%, which means that you're going to struggle to make your deal work. Where if you would have asked for 8%, you won't struggle to make your deal work. So that's part of the criteria. Part of the criteria is to making sure that the deal actually works. If the deal doesn't work at 15%, don't do it. And the guy lending the money is just never going to see his money, so he's just going to lose his money anyway. So if I go and I say to somebody, I'll give you 8% for your money, and they're like, well, so-and-so is going to give me 15%. I said, good luck. When he doesn't pay you back, I'll help you try to get your money back, but I don't think it's going to work. And then I explained to him what the difference is, and my paperwork is solid. My paperwork protects my lenders so well that they want me dead. Let me explain. So you know what happens with a bank. So Ian, I take money from a bank. Let's say I buy a property for $100,000, and I borrow whatever $80,000 because the bank will only give me 80%, right? I borrow. They'll give you more in certain cases, but I borrow $80,000. What happens if I don't pay the $80,000? What does the bank do?
They default on you're defaulting on the loan.
And then what?
So
What
then
did the
they'll
bank
send
do
you,
to get
they'll
to
send you a
protect their
notice,
interests?
and
Yeah, and
they'll
then
send
what?
you a notice, and then they'll foreclose on it.
Right. So foreclosure. This is the thing. So Ian, how long does it take for an average person, average bank to foreclose on a person? Do you know? Just off the top of your head.
3 years?
Yeah, I mean, whatever, right? I mean, it shouldn't take that long, but it does. So 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. Some people have been in their house for 8 years. So Ian, you lend me $200,000, right? And I say, hey, don't worry about it. The property's worth $250,000, and if I don't pay, you get you can foreclose on the property. And how long does it take to foreclose?
A couple years?
Yeah. Do you want to lend me money?
No, because
Of
I'm not going
course
to get
not.
paid.
Right, of course not. You're like, wait, I don't want to go through foreclosure. I don't want to have to hire an attorney. Forget it. This is a bad idea. Well, Ian, what if I did this instead? What if I gave you something called a confession of judgment? And the confession of judgment says this. It says if I miss 3 payments, you automatically get the property. Now, do you want to lend me money?
Yeah.
Hell yeah, right?
I mean, as long as the deal's good.
Right. So listen to this, right? So if you lend me $200,000 on a $250,000 property and I miss 3 payments, how much money did you make?
50,000.
Right? Ish, right?
Yeah.
Immediately. So, do you want me making my payments or not?
I want you to die.
Right. See? Right. If I don't make my payments, it's better.
Yeah.
Right? But so 2 things. One is I want to make the payments. And what do you care? You'll be so happy if you get your payments every month. Now, I'm not sure if I can do this because the screen is weird, the way the split screen is with you.
Mm-hmm.
But let me see if I could bring this up to show you like the absolute clincher to this. Let's see if it'll work. Start with this, okay? So this is something called an amortization schedule.
Yeah.
And an amortization schedule is very simple. So if you can see
There
the
we
whole thing,
go.
that's fine.
Yeah.
All right, if you can see the whole thing, that's fine. So $200,000 at 8%, right? So here's the deal. I use a 30-year amortization schedule, and I tell the person I'll pay them back in 5 years with an option for another 5 years. So let's talk about that. So they lend me $200,000, and I pay them $1,467.53. So if I take $1,467.53, and let's see if I can open up a calculator to show you this. And I take $1,467.53, and I times that by 60 payments. Remember I said 5 years, right? Times 60. I've paid that person $88,051.80.
Yep.
Now check this out. After 60 months, I still owe them $190,338.32. Is that a killer deal?
Yeah, for
Right?
the lender and for you.
Exactly. So it's great for the lender. So the lender now is like, wait a minute. I lent you $200,000. In 5 years, you still owe me $190,000, and you already paid me $88,000? What a remarkable deal that is for them. It's a great deal for them. And here's the thing. If you want to, Mr. Lender, I'll do it for 10 years. And at the end of 10 years, right? So if we go back to the calculator, 66, we take 60, we take the same number. We take 1467.53 times 120. That's 10 years. $176,103.60 I paid you, and I still owe you $175,000. I paid you more than I owed you.
Already.
Do you understand why banks do this now? That's why banks lend people money. So if you want to become a money lender, and as long as your paperwork is good, you get a confession of judgment, you get a mortgage, you get a promissory note, and your paperwork is good, the deal is phenomenal for a lender. I have a board. It's funny. I have a board in my office right here. And the board in my office is a list of people begging to lend me money. Now, how many people do you know that say, I can't find money for any deals? I have $2 million sitting here going, please borrow me.
That's a great problem to have.
All I have to do is find a good deal.
Yeah.
Money is so easy to find. Getting the deal is what you have to do next. You find a deal, the money will come. So you want to know why? So you want to know why most people don't have money for a deal?
So they don't know how to build that database. They don't know
No.
how to.
No,
Oh.
they don't have the deal under contract. If you have a deal under contract, you'll find the money.
A good deal under contract.
Well, fine. And it's funny if you have a bad deal under contract, you won't find the money anyway, which is really funny too. But if you have a good deal under contract, it's really easy to find the money. And until you know how to find a good deal, you're never going to find money. And the problem is people are like this, like, I need to find the money before I find a deal. Well, what for? How much money do you need for your deal? You have exactly the amount of money you need for your deal. You know what that is? Zero, because you don't have a deal. Everybody goes, oh, I know what to do with $1 million. I bet you don't. I do an exercise with people on how to spend $1 million, and they can't do it. Look at you, man. You're like, holy shit. I should have talked to this guy a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to get signed up for your mindset class, man.
So the financial IQ class.
Financial IQ class.
Can you make it? Yeah, can you make it July 18th, 19th, and 20th?
That's cutting it close. I'll see what I can do.
Okay, so here's a mindset problem, right? Do you believe that if you go to Financial IQ, your money mindset would change dramatically?
I think it would.
Okay. What benefit do you think you would get from that?
I mean, just a lot of the stuff we kind of talked about today, just the way to not really ask for money, but, how to create win-wins for both parties and how to deploy that money the right way. Like you said, finding the deal first, then
Okay, hold on a
money
second.
will come.
Hold on a second. That's what would happen. That's what you could do with the information. But how would it change your life?
I'd just be able to do more deals, I'm sure.
Okay, and how would that change your life?
I'd have more capital to
And how
do
would that
whatever
change
I
your life?
want. I'd be able to quit my job and travel the world and do all the things I've
very
wanted
good.
to do.
Okay, are those things important to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so the date is July 18th, 19th, and 20th, correct?
Uh-huh.
What could you possibly be doing on July 18th, 19th, and 20th that keep you from doing this that's more important than you being able to travel and quit your job?
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point.
It's mindset, man.
Yeah.
It's mindset. You either figure out how to do it or you don't. The difference between people who have quit their job and are financially free are the ones who took the step and did something to do it. Take a step. Now, if you don't believe that this step is going to be the answer, then don't do it. But if you believe this step is going to be the answer, and I'm telling you right now it will be, but if you believe this step will be the answer, then you should be asking me what hotel should be meeting at, what time should I meet there, how much is it, can I come earlier, whatever it might be. Right? That's what should excite you. And if it doesn't, I want you to remember this conversation for a really long time. Every day when you wake up and go to work, I want you to remember the conversation, and then I want you to think about how you didn't go to Financial IQ on July 18th, 19th, and 20th.
All right. Great advice. Great stuff. Thank you again for coming on the show, Larry.
You got it, man. I actually have to run. I actually have another webinar in exactly 6 minutes.
Okay. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. We really appreciate all the stuff, and we'll talk to you soon.
And don't forget, if you guys want 26786, text the message hacks, and you can get a copy of my book. Also, if you want to find out more about me, go to contactlarry.com. Contactlarry.com. You'll get my contact information. You can even make an appointment with me, and you can talk to me about Financial IQ, which Ian might be there. I don't know.
Larry's approach is direct. Real estate is simple, powerful, and predictable if you know what you're doing. If you're tired of gambling in markets you can't control, start learning how to earn consistent returns on real estate. 8% may not sound that flashy, but as we just heard, the profit potential for lenders is just absolutely insane. Thanks, Larry. Really appreciate the time.
See you, man. Thanks so much.
All right.
Take care.
All right. Bye.